Moscow, 1897. In a laboratory on the edge of the city, a physiologist named Ivan Pavlov was watching a dog salivate at the sound of a metronome. The food had not arrived. The sound alone was enough. The body had learned to respond to a signal that promised something, and it responded whether or not the promise was kept. The finding made Pavlov famous. The finding that mattered more came later, and almost no one outside his laboratory heard about it. Pavlov noticed that the same dog could be taught the opposite. Sound the metronome enough times with no food, and the salivation stopped. The reflex did not simply fade. Something inside the animal was actively holding it back. He called this internal inhibition, and he came to believe it was as fundamental as the reflex itself. A nervous system, he argued, was not built only to fire. It was built to fire and to stop firing, and the two capacities were equal partners in the same machine. 130 years later, the problem most people carry is a system that fires and does not stop. The chest stays tight long after the meeting has ended. The mind keeps running after the reason to run has passed. The body stays braced against a threat that left the room hours ago. This is not weakness, and it is not a character defect. It is a nervous system stuck in one half of its own design. And the Soviet physiologists, working first on animals, then on factory workers, then on the men they sent into orbit, mapped the route back to the other half. 12 minutes, 3 phases, a chair, a timer, and the willingness to sit down. But before the method, the reason it works. The nervous system that governs stress runs mostly without your permission. It has 2 branches. One of them accelerates. It raises the heart rate, tightens the muscles, floods the blood with fuel, and prepares the body for a threat that may or may not be real. The other branch slows things down. It lowers the pulse, loosens the gut, and returns the body to rest. In a person under steady pressure, the accelerating branch stays engaged long after the danger has passed, and the slowing branch cannot get a word in. Vladimir Bekhterev, working in St. Petersburg in the same decades as Pavlov, built an entire discipline around a related idea. He called it reflexology. Behavior, he argued, was a chain of reflexes, and reflexes answered to the body before they answered to reason. This is why talking yourself out of a stress response so rarely works. You are addressing the wrong system. The activated body does not speak the language of argument. It speaks the language of breath, of muscle, of movement. To settle it, you have to speak back in the same terms. That is the entire logic of the protocol. 3 phases, each one a message sent to the body in a language the body actually obeys. You are not going to reason with the system. You are going to operate it. Phase 1. The first 4 minutes. Slow the breath. There is a nerve that runs from the base of the skull down through the chest and into the gut. It is called the vagus nerve, and it is the main cable of the slowing branch of the nervous system. It has a peculiar property that the early physiologists documented long before anyone had the tools to explain it fully. It responds to the exhale. When you breathe out slowly, the vagus nerve signals the heart to slow. The longer the exhale relative to the inhale, the stronger the signal. The breath is not a metaphor for calm. It is a mechanical lever attached to the one system you are trying to reach. Sit down. A chair with a back is enough. Alexei Gastev, the poet and steelworker who ran the Central Institute of Labor in Moscow through the 1920s, taught the workers in his network that no motion should begin until the body was settled and squared. He was talking about men standing at lathes and drill presses. The rule holds just as well for a nervous system. Before the reset can begin, the body has to stop bracing. Set the timer for 4 minutes. Breathe in through the nose for a count of 4. Breathe out through the nose or the mouth for a count of 6. The exhale is longer than the inhale, and that difference is the whole mechanism. You are not trying to relax. Relaxation is the result, not the instruction. You are lengthening the exhale so that the nerve does the work for you. By the second minute, the pulse in the throat will have slowed. You may notice the shoulders dropping without having told them to. This is the slowing branch coming online. Notice that you did not calm yourself down. You gave a physical system the one input it needed, and it calmed itself. That distinction is the entire method in miniature. You are not the source of the calm. You are the operator of the switch. At 4 minutes, the breath has done its part. Now the muscles. Phase 2. The middle 4 minutes. Load and release. Ivan Sechenov, the physiologist often called the father of Russian objective psychology, spent years studying muscular fatigue. He found something that ran against common sense. A tired muscle recovered faster not through complete rest, but through a change of activity, a deliberate loading of a different kind. He called it active rest. The body settles more efficiently when it is given a controlled task than when it is simply told to be still. Stillness to an activated body is not rest. It is waiting, and waiting keeps the system on alert. Cosmonaut recovery training at Star City, outside Moscow, ran on a version of this principle. Candidates coming off the centrifuge, hearts pounding and vision still narrowing, were not told to lie down and wait for the feeling to pass. They were walked through a fixed sequence of muscular contractions and releases, tensing and letting go, giving the overloaded system a structured path back to baseline rather than leaving it to find its own way in the dark. Set the timer again. You are going to tense and release the body in order, from the feet upward. Curl the toes hard for a count of 5, then release. Feel the difference between the holding and the letting go. Tighten the calves and the thighs, hold for 5, release. Clench the fists and the forearms, hold, release. Pull the shoulders up toward the ears, hold, and then let them drop further than they started. Then the neck, slowly, finally the face. The jaw, the brow, the small muscles around the eyes that carry tension no one ever notices until they let it go. The release matters more than the tension. This is the part most people get wrong. They think the work is in the clenching. The work is in the letting go. A person carrying steady stress has usually forgotten what a fully released muscle feels like, because they have not felt one in months. The jaw has been set for so long it registers as neutral. The loading is there only to make the release legible. You cannot let go of something you did not know you were holding. By the end of 4 minutes, the body has a new baseline. Lower, quieter, the accelerating branch has been overruled, not by willpower, but by physiology. You did not talk yourself down. You operated the machine down. Before the final phase, a word about where this leads. This protocol is a reset. It works, and it works tonight, but a reset is maintenance. It handles the moment. It does not change the system that keeps generating those moments. The Soviets understood that the emergency tool and the daily discipline were two different things, and that a person who only ever ran the emergency tool was a person permanently in emergencies. That is the reason I wrote the Soviet Habits Handbook. It takes the principle behind this video, that the body and the system obey structure, not feeling, and extends it across the 8 areas of a life. The mind, the body, work, money, attention, emotion, output, and the people around you. It hands you a framework you can deploy the same day. No padding. No motivational speeches that evaporate the moment you close the book. The link is in the comments. No upsell, no email capture. Buy it, read it, or leave it on the shelf. Your time is yours. The norm does not meet itself. Now the final 4 minutes. Phase 3. 1 completed action. Gastev posted a set of rules on the wall of every workshop in his network. One of them held that once the body is settled and the plan is clear, the first movement should begin immediately. He understood something about the nervous system that he never stated in physiological terms. A calm that is not put to use does not last. The system, left idle, drifts back toward the state it just left. The breath and the muscle work brought you a settled body. Now you have to prove to that body that it can act from the settled state, or it will not trust the state and will not stay in it. This is why breath and muscle are necessary but not sufficient. A settled nervous system needs a reason to remain settled, and the reason is a task completed cleanly, without stakes, without pressure. Something small and finishable that ends in a quiet, undeniable done. Set the timer. Choose one small thing and finish it. Wash the cup that has been sitting by the sink. Clear the surface in front of you. Write one line in a notebook. Fold the clothing on the chair. Reply to one message that needs one sentence. The task must be physical, small, and completable inside 4 minutes. It must not be important. Importance brings pressure, and pressure is the thing you are leaving behind. Begin. The cosmonauts in isolation training at Star City arrived at the same principle from the other direction. Sealed in a chamber for days, monitored for the psychological deterioration that isolation produces. The candidates who came out with their composure intact were not the ones born with the calmest temperament. They were the ones who gave themselves tasks. Counting, arranging, small repeated movements of their hands. The specific task never mattered. The having of a task mattered entirely. A body doing something small and finishing it is a body that has left the alarm state behind, because it is now occupied by something real. When the timer sounds at 12 minutes, stop, even mid-task. Even one motion from finishing. Stopping on time is part of the discipline. A system that cannot stop cannot reset again tomorrow. The worker who runs past the whistle is not more dedicated. He is a worker who will not be there next week. Sit for one final moment, without the timer, without the task. Notice what the body is doing now. The pulse is slower. The breath is deeper without being told. The tightness that sat in the chest 12 minutes ago has loosened, not vanished. Loosened, this is what a reset feels like, and it is worth being honest about the size of it. Not bliss. Not transcendence. A body returned to its own baseline, which 12 minutes ago it could not find on its own. This is the pattern. 4 minutes to slow the breath. 4 minutes to release the muscles. 4 minutes to prove the calm can hold under a small, real task. The numbers are not sacred. They are simply enough, and they are shorter than the evening you were about to lose to a body that would not stand down. Pavlov spent his life proving that a nervous system trained to fire can be trained to settle, that inhibition is not the absence of a signal, but a signal of its own. Sekhanov proved that the tired body recovers through structured activity, not empty rest. Gastev proved that a settled system holds only when it is put to use. Between them, across half a century of work in laboratories and workshops and training halls, they